All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're going to talk about the Hard Knocks episode from last week. We'll get into talking about Caleb Williams' performance. I know I talked about that, of course, last week, but also some other news within that episode. Um, the Bears tried to trade for Matthew Judon, and that would have been a big trade if the Bears were able to pull that off, because then you pair him up with Montez Sweat. And talking about the Bears defense last year, that was a unit that really improved. And adding Matthew Judon to that defense, I mean, that only would just add on to the hype of the Bears. And the main thing, obviously, talking about this episode was just the preseason game against the Bengals, because it didn't get off to a great start. The Bears offense stalled, for the first few drives. And, obviously, when talking about the Bears, I think the Bears are going to be a good team this year. But there's going to be some growing pains. And I think you saw some of that with the preseason game against the Bengals. Like, there's going to be some bad. There's going to be some lulls where, you're kind of going through it. There's drives where you're not really cashing in and you're going 3 and out. But then you see the final 2 drives, and that's the potential of this Bears team and Caleb Williams. Him being able to improvise, and, he's got a great arm. And we saw even some passes that were incomplete. You see the talent there. I think he's going to be better. He's going to be, well, right now, I at least think he's going to be better than Justin Fields. But, I mean, some of those plays, I mean, the 2 signature plays from that game, the pass to Roma Dunze for 45 yards, whatever it was, and then the rushing touchdown, which was improvised. Followed his blocker into the end zone for a touchdown. This is what this Bears offense is capable of doing. And he's got a ton of weapons to work with. I mean, he had a passing touchdown that, got called back. So, his stats would have been even better. But actually, I don't know if that was on the drive that they scored a touchdown. But needless to say, I mean, that was an impressive play. He could have had a touchdown pass in that game. He's still looking for that, and he'll get it. But yeah, it's just you see the potential of this Bears team, and they're going to be one of the more intriguing teams to watch. Just because, I mean, and rightfully so, just because of the off season that they've had, and I think I am buying into the hype, but they also got to go out there and prove it. They still got some question marks. And you got a rookie quarterback, so you might not get results right away, but it's really all about improving throughout the season. Because they could, like I said, I've said this before, they could be a team that, they get off to a slow start, but you make a run in the second half. And that propels you into the playoffs, because that's pretty much what, almost happened for them last year. They played really well towards the end of the year. But, you lose that tough game against Cleveland, and, you lose a close game against the Packers. The Packers have had the Bears number in a piece of memory. As much as, Bears fans are not going to want to admit it. But it's true, unfortunately, for them. But yeah, I mean, I just think this team is better equipped than it was last year. And now you get a full year of Montez Sweat wrecking havoc on defense. Jalen Johnson on that contract extension. The Bears are a team to look out for. So, we'll see what happens. But, I'm looking forward to see what they can do, what they can accomplish. Because it is... the hype is real. So, and I know... I think towards the beginning of the episode, Matt Eberflus was talking to Caleb Williams about, I think it was about the first preseason game against the Bills, and they're just kind of going through it, and Caleb Williams is talking about preparation and being ready for the game and things like that, because that was his first game action in the NFL, and didn't really disappoint in his debut either, because he had some good throws, and the no-look pass to DeAndre Swift turned some heads. There is a lot to like about Caleb Williams, but there's some people that have their doubts, and you're always going to have that. So, but I don't know. I think the Bears, they might have found their guy. But we'll see. You got to now prove it in the regular season. And they got a very winnable game against the Titans week 1. And then you play the Texans week 2. And I know we saw that in the Hall of Fame game, but now we get the real deal. It's on Sunday night. So that'll definitely be fun. But let me know what you guys think, though, about the Hard Knocks episode. What were your takeaways from it? And, yeah, and then with the final preseason game, the Bears, they ended up winning against the Chiefs. They went 4-0 this preseason. They won 34-21 over the Chiefs. And the other 3 quarterbacks played. It's going to be interesting to see who ends up winning that. Those final 2 quarterback spots. Because I know Austin Reed's been a good story, but he might not make it. Also, they were using Velus Jones as running back, even though he's a receiver, and he had 13 carries for 111 yards and a touchdown. So it'll be interesting to see how they use him in the offense. But, yeah, like I said, let me know what you guys think, though, about the Bears and their performance so far, and what to expect for them going into the regular season. But I did want to get into talking about Anthony Richardson, because I wanted to talk about his performance from Thursday, and it was a mixed bag. Because the Colts, they went right down the field on his first drive. They scored a touchdown, and it was great. But then it was bad after that. He threw a pick 6, and it didn't go so well. Now, should we overreact and be like, oh, he's not going to be good this year? No. I think we're going to see more of what we saw on the first drive. But, this is a guy that hasn't played. He only played in, 3 games last year? I think we got to, pump the brakes a little bit. But, yeah, the pick 6 was ugly. That wasn't a good throw. But he's going to figure it out. Now, they get tested right away because they're taking on a Texans team that, knocked them out of the playoff contention in their building. And they're going to want to go out there and show that, that they belong to the Colts. And, I hope we see a ton of Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud matchups for the next 10 years. So, we'll see what happens. But I also did want to bring that up because I know, I talked about mostly the Georgia Tech Florida State game, but I wanted to talk about Anthony Richardson's performance on Thursday as well. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think though about about his performance too. So, when we come back from our final break of the show, we'll talk about the Panthers. We'll talk about Bryce Young's performance because he made his preseason debut, and I wanted to get into that and discuss it. We'll get into all that, but we made it to the end. No more preseason. The real deal starts next week, so I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, you guys know me. I've been saying it for weeks now. It's been unbelievable. How fast the offseason went. But because now we're here, but it was a long time. And I'm just happy that we finally made it. So so that is what we will get into when we come back for our final break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.